is home, just where I wanna be. This is home, this place is a part of me. My home, your home, our home. People around here call me one of their own. Yeah, yeah, this is home. 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 I love living in my town. Everywhere I go, there's friendly people who make a difference. There's no better place I know. I got everything here I need. I'm as free as the air I breathe. It's a good life, good times. Everybody I know is a friend of mine. This is home, just where I wanna be. This is home, this place is a part of me. My home, your home, our home. People around here call me one of their own. Yeah, yeah, this is home. This is home. Yeah, I've been different places. I've been around. But I love the familiar faces in my hometown. Been there, done that. Feels good to be here in the old time zone. Can you hear us, Teresa? Can you hear us now, Teresa? If you can hear us, turn on your video. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay, we can't hear you. So let me work on this. All right, where are you located, Teresa? Okay. The reasons I'm not sure, we're not hearing you. I'll test some stuff on my end. Just guessing yours is not on mute.
I took myself off mute.
I got you now. Perfect. I don't know,
Okay.
with computers it doesn't work, then all of a sudden everything works perfectly.
Okay.
All right. I remember you've been on before now. I remember now.
Right.
You don't have just one book. You got a bunch of, is there 3 books?
My third book is coming out soon.
Okay. Here we go. I'm just doing some last minute setup, so we're almost ready.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the, which series, what's the series called? The Fire. Tank. Flame series,
This
sorry. I got
Flame series.
Gotcha.
If you're a book reader, you're going to want to hear this because there's a great new book coming out, the second in a series called Flame Within. And today we're going to talk to the author of Flame Within, Teresa Gage. Welcome, Teresa. I'm having trouble finding
Hi.
you. There she is. There she is. Hi, Teresa. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
For book readers, you do a pretty exciting series. Um, I know you've been on before, and I know this book, and by the way, here's the cover for our viewers, Flame Within. It's the second book of a series. Tell us about the series.
No, this is actually the third book.
The third book, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I thought two were already out. This one is coming out, is that correct?
Yes.
When will it be out?
I was told probably another week yet.
Another week or so. So for our viewers, you're getting a little preview on what is up. Tell us about the series.
So the Flame series is about this bad sorcerer that he's been eluding death throughout the series. And Aiden is the main character in the first two books who keeps trying to, with his magic abilities, trying to get rid of this guy from harming the kingdom. And they thought in the second book that he was gone for good because he was sacrificed by fire, but he actually exchanged bodies with another person. And so he's still alive. So in the third book that's coming up, Flame Within, Aiden is not the main character. His friend Juliana, her sister Ollie, is the main character. And Juliana is put in this lottery by King Rourke to be sacrificed to the dragons because the dragons require a maid to be sacrificed, otherwise they're going to get rid of the entire kingdom. And so Juliana telepathically calls help from Aiden, and he comes to her rescue, he thinks. But then Ollie has to watch everything happening with her family, and she finds this strange talisman in the rocks and picks it up just as the dragon comes over and blows fire on her sister, and she screams just as Aiden's using his magic, and the talisman cuts through his magic, and they think Juliana's gone, but she's actually exchanged bodies with somebody else.
Oh my God.
And so throughout the story, Ollie doesn't have respect for the king because he sacrificed her sister, and then her father dies during the war, and then he kicks her out of their home, and it just goes on from there. And so she actually holds the key to saving the kingdom, but she has to learn to get over her grief and learn forgiveness before that can happen.
Yeah, fantasy authors amaze me because you have all these things going on in a realm that doesn't even really exist. Maybe it exists somewhere, but it's amazing how you can be that creative and hold it all and keep everything in order. Then you have people switching bodies.
Right.
Now, who's this written for? It's a young adult fantasy?
Yes.
And I always like a fantasy if there's a dragon. It's just such a better book to me. So, are there any rules you have to follow? Like dragons have certain protocols or something like that?
The dragons don't have any protocols. In the realm that the people are in right now, this king does not allow magic, so that's why he sacrificed the bad sorcerer in the first place.
Yeah.
But, he
Now, let me
didn't
ask
die.
you, when did you start writing this series?
The book that's coming out now, I actually started it when I was going through this program, the Institute of Children's Literature. I started it then and then just kind of put it aside. And then I started writing the first two books instead, and then went back to this one.
Amazing. So the third one is where it all started, really, in your mind, I would imagine.
Right. Right.
And by the way, do you write all this in your mind, or do you sit at the keyboard and you write it as it comes to you?
I have a notebook that um, first I make my characters,
Hmm.
their wants and their flaws and all that. And then I start thinking, okay, what would they do? And I do a halfway outline first, and then I just start writing
Hmm.
first in my notes, then I go to my laptop
Yeah,
and till it comes out right, and then I do an official outline to get it to fit all together.
nice. So you develop the characters in advance. That's amazing that you do that. That
Yeah,
has to be a very fun thing to do. Um,
yeah.
Now, I put your website on the screen, Worlds of Warcraft. Worlds of Word
Words.
and Craft. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me see. World of Words and Craft. GoDaddy sites.com.
.com.
And I looked at it. It's kind of a cool site.
Thank
What?
you.
Tell our viewers what they would find there. By the way, it's on the screen, so as much as I messed it up, our viewers can see what the web address is. Tell our viewers what they might find there. On the,
Well,
go ahead.
I have a blog on there that I share a few little stories, and uh, you can buy the first two books off of there too.
You can get
Uh,
them there. Good. Good.
yeah. But you can also go to Book Baby site and Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. They're on there.
The usual places. I like to, if I
Yeah.
could buy it directly from the author, I like to do that. Sometimes I feel like I have a better bond with them or something like that. But they can find the books there. Are there any side stories or any hidden Easter eggs on the site that we might benefit from?
Well, eventually, Ollie's cousin in this book is captured by some pirates. So I'm thinking of doing a short novel off of that.
Uh,
So,
Very good.
and, and then I'm working on the fourth book to this series with my critique group, and that one's called Consumed with Fire,
Mhm.
and it has tree trolls in it and dragons and giants, all kinds of things.
Do you know how many books there will be in the series?
I haven't really determined that yet.
That's my favorite answer. When people say, "Well, I started out, I knew I was going to write a trilogy." How do you know in advance? But I'm glad that this could go on for a long time. This amazing story.
Yeah,
Good. I hope it does. We're
thank you.
Believe it or not, Teresa, we're already running out of time. Any last thoughts? Anything you want our viewers to know about you or the books or anything in the world?
Well, I like to collect dragons. I'm just fascinated with them for some reason.
And
I have
you're able to find them
posters
and
and little statues.
you're able to find them in different shops and things like that.
Yeah,
Very good, Teresa. Amazing. If you're watching and you have a dragon, send it to Teresa. She loves to collect them. Thank you, Teresa Gage. By the way, I
thank
just
you.
want to put the cover of the book up one more time. Flame Within. Should
Yeah,
they read these in order or does it matter?
it'd be nice if they read them in order, but they don't have to.
Yeah. And by the way, I just went to Amazon. I don't endorse them or anything, but it's so easy to find stuff there. I typed Teresa Gage and all of her books popped up. And so go to there or go to her site, order the first book, and get ready for the third book. Order the first two, in fact, and get ready for the third one. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll come back soon. As soon as the book comes out, let's have you back on again.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
For our viewers, stick around because we're going to have another author up right after this. Welcome back to Briggs Arm Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world about their books, their process. Also, we talk to publishers, editors, people who can help you get your book published. So many of our viewers are trying to do just that, get their first book out there. Our next guest today, I should say, has done it several times. She's an expert at it now. Margaret Izard. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, last time you were here, we talked about your first book. In fact, here's the cover of it. It's called Stone of Love. And now your second book is out, Stone of Fear.
Yes.
Now, as I recall, the protagonist, should we call her? Is her name Marie?
Yes.
And she has something to do. She is an expert on buildings or religious facilities.
Religious buildings. She's an expert on religious buildings, specifically historical religious buildings across Scotland.
Across Scotland, in specific.
Yes.
Now, and so she's building. Oh, she gets hired to maybe restore one or the flooring or something. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Yes, Marie. Marie actually does appear in the first book. She was brought on with the main first character of the first book, Brielle. Marie is brought on to restore the mosaic flooring in the chapel in the woods at Dunstaffnage Castle. And the interesting thing about book 2 is it actually starts where we left off with the first book. But what's an interesting fact is that Marie and John's love story occurred while the main characters in the first book were traveled back in time in order to recover a magic face stone. So we actually start book 2 at Happily Ever After. Okay. And a priest kidnaps Marie because he believes that she possesses magical powers in order to recover a magic face stone. And he drags her across Scotland, or across the Western Isles of Scotland, searching ancient crosses, attempting to find a magic face stone. And her romantic interest, John, who is the assistant to the main character in the first book, must chase her through space and time in order to help find her. And what's nice about this story is their love story is actually told in flashback from 2 different points of view, because they fell in love while Colin and Bree in the first book were back in time. So it's a very interesting story. It's filled with romance, fae magic, some mysterious events, and a few twists and turns along the way.
Now, it's based in Scotland. Will people know these places?
Yes. Actually, Dunstaffnage Castle exists. It's outside of Oban on the Western Isles of Scotland. The chapel in the woods is a chapel building. It is a ruin. And in the book, it gets remodeled. It actually, at the time it was built, probably somewhere around the 13th century. It was probably considered one of the most spectacular private chapels across Scotland. It actually rivals Iona Abbey, which the Isle of Iona is a place that we visit in book 2. And we visit a couple other places along the Western Isles because we're chasing some of those ancient Celtic crosses.
Now, what would you call the genre? Is it a romance? Romantic?
This is paranormal romance.
Paranormal
romance, because we do have fairies. We have the magic of the fairies and the fae. We have some of their folklore that is actually some of the folklore that the Irish immigrants brought to Scotland. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about the fae, we talk about the Tuatha De Danann and the Fomor fae. So that's the good fae and the evil fae, and it becomes down to this battle of good against evil, and how the humans help the fae recover the magic face stones.
So somebody like me who's recently become interested in Scotland, because I'm found out I'm almost 100% Scottish. Well, I learned something about Scotland.
You'll learn some history about it. What's interesting about my paranormal stories, and I do get asked this often, is how do you merge this paranormal into this modern day story and these stories that you're trying to create, these romances. And what's interesting is the history actually drives my paranormal. So it's the history of Scotland and the history of the fae and these folklore stories that are told that drive some of the paranormal concepts that I blend within what these real stories are.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that as I said in the introduction, so many of our viewers are authors, trying to write their first book, and you've got this device where you're telling a story through flashbacks. It's amazing you can keep all that straight in your mind.
Actually, I'm glad that you asked. And I didn't think of this coming into the interview, but I'm so happy that you asked because outlining, I am a plotter. I'm a huge plotter as a writer. And I have a 7-book series with 3 Christmas companion books planned for this series. So you have to be a plotter to keep up with time travel and what's going on.
Yeah.
But in this particular book, it was an extreme challenge. I knew what their romantic story was. I hadn't quite fully written it out. My outlines are summary driven. And when I did this outline, I actually had to break apart their love story and write it from beginning to end, because as I started the story of the Stones and progressed forward with the story of the Stones, and I went into these flashbacks, they started getting out of order. And I had to ensure whose point of view was I in, because you get Marie's point of view and then John's point of view and Marie's point of view and John's point of view until they come together. So it was a challenge because it was very confusing. And so what I did in the outline was actually pulled out on 2 separate columns to the side. The first column was here's the story we're working on now, where Mary is kidnapped by this priest and going through time, and John has to chase after her. And then in the next 2 columns were the love story. So if you read it from top to bottom, one column was Marie, one column was John. But if you read it from top to bottom, you got their love story. So if you read that alone, it was their love story from beginning to end. So we ensured that we started at the beginning of their romance, how their romance developed, what things were important to them, what symbols were important to them. There's some symbolism in their relationship and how that developed. And I had to go back and redo it a couple times to keep it all straight. And what's nice about that, and what a lot of reviewers have said, is that I've really blended these flashbacks seamlessly. Some readers don't take, the flashbacks are difficult for a lot of readers because you have to keep up with things. You have to follow with it. But the way in which I blended it within the current story and almost made these flashbacks seamless, because you're invested and you're immersed in this character and in this environment. And I've been complimented on how seamless these come across. And so I'm very proud of that, because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work as a writer.
And so for our viewers that are trying to finish their books, they're probably now thinking, man, this is a harder job than I realized. And what a terrific job you do doing that.
Thank you.
By the way, again, here's the first book, Stone of Love. And then here's the second book cover. The covers are beautiful, by the way. Stone of Fear. What comes next, Margaret?
I'm glad you asked. Stone of Lust. Like I said, there's 7 books in the series. There's 3 good stones, there's 3 evil stones, and together the 6 stones show the Stone of Destiny. So the next book is Stone of Lust. That's our 3rd book in the series. It comes out October 21st, and it follows Colin's sister, Annis Lee, and her obsession for the Viking knife. Nice. And so we get Stone of Lust and her story. Following that, on November 4th, is the first Christmas companion book, which is Thistle and the Mistletoe. And that releases November 4th. That features a couple in history, in the past. When on our first book, as we follow Colin and Bree's story, Colin has to go back and assume the identity of an identical ancestor, who is Roderick. So Thistle and the Mistletoe backs up a little bit before Colin goes back in time, and we get Roderick and Mary's love story that occurs back in time. And there's a little bit of paranormal in there, but we get to actually see their relationship, how it developed, the people and some of the characters we met in book 1. When Colin went back in the past, we get to meet some of these people, get to know them a little bit better. And so that will be coming November 4th. And following that, we actually have Stone of Hope, which is the 4th book in the series. And that will come sometime in 2025. I don't have a publication date yet. It's actually with my editor. I just recently signed the contract last week, and I'm very excited about that book. That features Brielle's brother, Dominic DeVolt, who is an Air Force Special Ops pilot. And we get to follow him on his story and how he finds love. And what's interesting is that actually starts in Florida, and it does not take place in Scotland.
Wow.
We actually follow Dominique back in time. He actually ends up going through a portal and finding himself in the middle of an Egyptian archaeological dig in the 1930s.
Now you have, I know a lot of this comes from your mind, but do you have to do a lot of research?
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm very well read. It's, as a writer, it's reading is part of writing. And reading is what started me wanting to write, reading stories and thinking, I would rather do this, or I would like this, or I don't like the way she wrote that. I'd write it like this.
Yeah.
So that's what started the juices of maybe, I want to be a writer. And it started when I was in my 30s, and I didn't start writing until my 50s, my mid 50s now. But that's what started it. And the interesting thing about all this research that I have to do is that it leads me great places. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the history drives a lot of my creativeness with the paranormal and how I insert and incorporate and make this paranormal and this history part of what these stories are. And that I've had some great discoveries from my research. I've for Stone of Lust, I stumbled across something that just really blew up my story. It really expanded my story for Stone of Lust. I don't want to share it because it's a spoiler, but there are gifts in research, and there are gifts in storytelling when you do your research, and I've allowed it to guide me, and it's really been a huge help.
Yeah, nothing more fun than research. So I love that. So, have you been to Scotland?
Yes, we went to Scotland a year ago. My husband and I went for our 30th wedding anniversary.
Wow, nice.
It was a dream trip for me. It was a bucket list item.
Yeah.
We'd taken over a year to plan it. We toured. We started in Glasgow. We went toured through Oban, went up into the Cairngorms, came back down, ended up in Edinburgh. A lot of inspiration from there. I visited Dunstafnage Castle. You can go to my website at margaretisardauthor.com, check out some of the pictures I have there. We were in Oban for 2 days. Donnelly Castle is also a MacDougall. The Dunstafnage Castle was originally built and owned by the MacDougall family, the clan. Donnelly Castle, which is outside of Oban, is also featured. That's featured in Stone of Lust, and it was also a MacDougall castle. So it was very inspiring to visit these places that I've read so much about. I've looked at pictures, and but being there and immersing myself in the aura and the atmosphere of what these places are and what they mean. Walking through the chapel in the woods, it's much larger than I imagined. It's a larger building than I thought, and it's very inspiring. And it was a really great trip, and we had a blast.
Yeah, you sound passionate about Scotland.
Uh-huh.
And now, I have a million more questions. We're out of time. They're waving me off. I got to ask you a lot more things, Margaret. But I will say this to our viewers: the web address is on the screen. MargaretIsardAuthor.com. We have your Instagram up there. Any last thoughts? Anything else we've left out that you want our viewers to know?
No, just stay tuned. Keep in touch. Check out my website. Like I said, there's 7 books in this series. I've already drafted book 5 and book 6. I'm currently working on book 7. In addition to this, I hope to bring to you an additional series, The Dragons of Tantalon. We met our dragons, our shape-shifting dragons in the first book in a dream that Colin had. And I've also turned that into a 7-book series. Yeah. And so I hope to bring you that after the Stones of Iona series. So just stay in touch and keep in tune. There's so much more to come.
I'm going to wave off my producer for a second. I'll ask one more question. So this series, you call it the Stone series, or?
It's called the Stones of Iona series, and it features these stones that come from the Isle of Iona, these magic face stones, and they're put in the trust of the MacDougall family to protect for all the realms.
And have you finished all 8? I know you're publishing one at a time, or do you have all 8 outlined? How does that work?
There's 7 books and 3 Christmas companion books. I'm drafting the 7th book. I finished book 1 through 6, and I have finished 2 of the Christmas books. So the first Christmas book will come out this year. It takes anywhere from 3 to 5 months to draft a book, to outline draft a book. Yeah. It gets now that I'm doing a series, it comes a lot easier and a lot quicker. But it's once they're drafted and complete, it still takes another 8 to 12 months from the time that I first get it to my editor, that it gets contracted, before it actually gets released. So you kind of, if I want these books to come out every 3 to 4 months, I kind of got to backstock them, I got to keep working.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us who are still working on our first, Margaret. I hope you come back every time a book's coming out, or as often as you like, because you're a great guest to have and an inspiration.
Well, thank you so much.
All righty. And for our viewers, stick around. We have another author coming up right after this. Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show. where we feature authors from all over the world to tell us about their book, their process, their life, how they got from being a non-author to an author, what happened during the process from starting writing to finishing writing, how did they get their books published. It's just amazing what people go through to get to where they are. And I think this next guest, who is Lynn Moore, is going to be very inspiring as well as everything else. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you this morning.
Yes. And by the way, here's the cover of Lynn's book, Born to Bounce Back. And now, Lynn, you have been, by the way, she writes under the name Frances Teigen and publishes as Frances Teigen. You've done a lot of stuff. You've been a teacher. You've been an entrepreneur. You've built businesses. You went back to school at 72 or something like that. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, it's been a very busy life. It's been a life that has been difficult in many ways, but also extraordinary in many other ways. Like most people, I will tell you, I'm 81 years old, and I've lived a lot of life and learned a lot. And I started writing at the age of 9. And my mom kept all my little stories and typed them up for me, and I just kept on.
Yeah.
Writing it. It seems to be a natural thing I was born to do. So,
Yeah, that's one thing I got about research. You were always a writer.
always.
Yeah, and what writers must do is write.
Yeah.
I think, like me, though, you're a reader, too.
Oh, yeah, a voracious reader.
Yeah.
I love knowledge, and I always have to learn something every day because I just believe that without knowledge, things just don't change. They don't get better. We must keep learning.
Yeah. In grad school, I came up with this term, ABR, always be reading. And from that day on, I mean, and the line at the supermarket, wherever you are, you need to keep devouring these books. So that's probably helped make you a great writer, too, all the reading.
And
Now,
before you spell, really,
yeah.
reading.
Now, you've gone through some things in your life, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you use those experiences to put out this book that kind of highlights, is it maybe some of the speed bumps in your life? How would you describe it?
I call them instant pivotal crises, and no one is immune. We will all have them. Instant because they come out of left field, no warning. Pivotal because they take your life and turn it upside down, inside out, and backwards. And you're looking at a life, excuse me, in front of you that you've never seen before, and it will never be the same again. And a crisis, it's catastrophe. Mm-hmm. So everyone has a catastrophe, or many catastrophes. I wrote about 7 of my own. And what I learned from all of this, it took me a long time to realize that they had value and they had meaning. And I want everyone to know that when these crises knock you crazy and you just don't even know how to get up, it's for a reason. So I wanted to get that across to people, so I gave them the examples of my own, and then kind of went backwards as to, okay, this is what I learned from this one. Maybe I can teach them.
By the way, it's very brave of you to expose, I mean, you really expose yourself in the book.
I do. I did it purposely because I also believe that if we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable, again, we aren't going to live a life without we have to learn to listen to each other's stories because they create empathy, and empathy creates, it just makes us all equal.
Yeah. By the way, I meant to ask you in the beginning of the interview, where are you located right now?
I'm in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada.
And that's above California or above New York? I don't know.
It's above California. As a matter of fact, the province of British Columbia is as large as Washington State, Oregon, and Northern California.
Oh, okay. And is it, what's the weather there right now?
Right now, we're looking at lovely sunshine. I would say, because we are in Celsius, I'm going to try and convert that. But we're probably going to be about 18 degrees today, which is close to 70.
70, yeah. That's amazing. Canadians, Americans, we don't know Celsius, we don't know the metric system, and
Well, I was good with that. It changed.
yeah.
I was a young adult, I think.
Yeah. We now your book. Who should be reading this book?
Anyone who has had difficulty in their lives and they just can't seem to get over it.
It sounds like almost all of us, Lynn.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, that's brave of you to kind of lay yours out. There's 7 big ones. There's probably more than that in your life, but you chose 7 and talked about how you went through them, how you got through them, and maybe that will inspire other people as to how they could get over their own.
That's my whole purpose of writing the book. I want to help others know that their life isn't over when they've a catastrophe, and there are ways to come back. And I go through a number of ways of doing that and advice. Yeah. I also have a wicked sense of humor. Not totally down and, oh, woe is me. Yeah. I do put quite a bit of laughter in there, too, when it's appropriate.
Very good. Now, you went through a lot. You were a mom. You had children. You had a husband. And then at some point, you didn't have a husband.
Yes, and that was because that was one of my IPCs, is that he ended up being what the psychology world names a malignant narcissist. They are brutal, they are mean, and they are charismatic. And so I ended up by him being brutal with me in many ways, and who deserted me without a penny to my name with a 2-year-old and an unborn baby.
Wow. Now,
but I also learned I probably saved my life. Any man whose partners kill them, especially malignant narcissists.
Yeah. Now, many women are married to malignant narcissists. Do you think reading your book would help somebody understand that that's what the issue? I mean, people don't know psychology. They don't know they're married to a malignant narcissist. It's just a guy that acts a certain way. Do you think your book would help expose that and help people understand what they're in the middle of?
I would hope so. I would think so, because I did explain, the whole relationship and what he did. Yeah. And he did it. And anyone who, I don't know, I think probably one of the really good ways to find out about a malignant narcissist is through Dr. Phil and his podcast, and they're up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go find out.
I love to watch Dr. Phil. So literally somebody reading your book might save their life.
Oh, boy, that would be wonderful if it would have saved somebody's life. I would be so honored.
If you could save one life, yeah. Now, I want to ask you, I was curious about you went to college later or again at 72 or 74?
I always loved studying. I loved biology, psychology, and I've been a life coach since 2004. And at the age of about 74, I guess it was, I went back to university to study psychology. And one of the things we have here is that if you are a senior, you can go and attend university at no cost. So I thought, hey, what better time, way to spend my time.
Yeah, I did it.
A lot.
Yeah, I did an extra degree later in life too, and wow, it was so different because I was just having fun doing it instead of trying to get through it so I get my post-college job. So I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. Now, I have an idea that this book should be in the hands of a lot of people, and for our viewers out there, go order this book, but don't order one, order 5 of them, because there's people out there who need this book, and you could give it to them, give them it as a gift. I think that'd be a great idea. Now,
and because 81, anybody can keep on going to any age. It's just a number.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Inspiring. I know we're out of time, but you're so fascinating. I have to keep talking to you. We have your web address on the screen borntobounceback.ca. I think that stands for Canada.ca. Yeah. What do we find at your website?
What will you find on it?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll find stories, you'll find blogs, you'll find the way to order the book, of course. And it's probably about 15 pages. There's a lot of information there. So if you want to learn more, there's lots there on the website.
That would lead people to more answers. That's great. Now, I know we're out of time, but I just want to give you a moment to, you got any last thoughts for our viewers about you or your book or life in general?
Just look for meaning in everything that happens in your life. It's not all bad. And, you know, really, I heard it once. I think it was Neil Donald Walsh. He said, there's nothing right, wrong, good, or bad. It just is.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Lynn, for your message and for being so brave to, you know, kind of expose yourself, pour yourself out there so that other people could be moved and inspired and hopefully find some peace in themselves. And I hope you'll come back over and over.
I would love to. Just ask.
All right, Lynn. And we'll be back with more authors right after this. Welcome back to our international talk show, Briggs on Books, where we talk to authors from all over the world about their book, their inspirations, and just learn a little bit about them, because what we want to help you to do is choose the next book you're going to read. Our next guest is all the way from Sweden, author Christer Jufer. Welcome, Christer. Chris?
Thank you very much, Mr. Briggs.
Tell our viewers where you are in Sweden. Where are you in Sweden right now?
I'm on the west coast, about 80 miles north of Gothenburg.
Nice. Now, it's maybe almost coming up on 11 a.m. California time. What time is it there?
It's 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Okay, so it's nighttime there, or in the evening, I should say. We're in the hottest weather ever. We're at over 100 degrees. What's your weather over there?
We could use little about that. We could use little from that weather. It's rather cold here, really.
Okay.
The Swedish summer is, well, like it used to be. It goes up and down, and now it's okay. But you never know with the Swedish summer weather. It's very changing.
Yeah. I have to tell our viewers that I'm reading the most fascinating book right now, and I'm just having such a good time with it. It's by this author, Christer Jufer, The Involuntary Bus Driver, and it covers a lot. It covers Sweden, royalty, political intrigue, students in California. It covers a lot of the world and a lot of very exciting things. I don't want to give away too much, but tell us about the book, Christer.
Yes, I like to think it's some sort of an epic novel. I want to incorporate different things in it. As you said, it's take places in different countries, different people, and I think, well, basically, I could say it's modern version of the old ancient war between Christianity and Islam. But even though violence takes place in the book as well, but I think it's a more sophisticated war this time. It's not only with weapons in hand, it's with money in hands. And I think, it's an interesting subject. I know that Saudi Arabia, they have a very, very lot of oil money, and I maybe maybe they buy the whole world in the end. But I think this book is little too. Well, I don't want to say only to describe that because the book is so much, much more.
Yeah.
But I think it's describes a modern version of an old ancient war, and a Swedish normal family gets in the way and gets in trouble because of this. And I think it's got a lot of charm, it's got a lot of action, humor. I tried to incorporate the best I could, really. Yeah. It's not easy to short describe a book.
Well, I tell you, Chris sent me this book months and months ago, and I've had it on my stack. And so finally the interview is coming up. I thought, I better read some. I was going to read a chapter or something, but I couldn't stop because it's just fascinating. It's a fascinating and exciting book. And anybody who likes to read about things like this, they're going to really love this book. Is there any truth in the book? I mean, it just, at first I thought I was reading a history, but then I realized, no, this is a novel. So some of it is, a story. But are things like this going on in Sweden right now?
Well, I think it's this action, what the book describes. I think it takes places in many countries in the world today. And I'm not hostile to different religions. I have the belief that you can believe what you want, or if you don't want to, it's okay too. But I think many politicians in countries, they don't think about the synergy effects. Yes, we can borrow money. Yes, very good. Oh my God, so much money. And yeah, we can sign that. But then it gets out of the hand. Things get out of hand for the politician. They argue with each other, and it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And the sandbox is in full action. So I think this book, maybe, I hope that when you have read this book, I hope you think it was well written. I hope you think it was interesting.
Yeah.
I hope you learned something. I hope I could entertain all those hours because it's over 700 pages. So, and the reason the ebook version is 718 and yours 671 is because I got up from 10.5 text size to 11. So that had that effect that it was some more pages.
Yeah. I got my first, for Father's Day this week, I got my first Kindle. And since I'm going to be reading this book for weeks and weeks, I might try to open it on the Kindle with the ebook version since it's so accessible. One of the things I like the best, Chris, is how you introduce the characters. And it's very clear who is who, and you get their, I know we're going to learn a lot more about the characters as we go into the book, but that was my favorite part, how you introduce the characters, and it drew me in right away. I must read more about these people. So I have not seen a book presented that way before, and I appreciate it very much. I have a link on the screen here, Chris, and I clicked on it right before we came on the air. It's mirou.co.uk. It's on the screen for our viewers to hear. Tell the viewers what they will find there.
Yes, they can find information about me. I thought that maybe there are some people, I'm sure here in Scandinavia, but maybe even in the United States and Great Britain, there are many readers, Amazon, okay, it's it eatable or what is it? But I have tried to help people understand what it's like to shop an ebook from Amazon. So I have done it for if you connect by a computer and cell phone, the Swedish, the English I have still to do. It's not ready yet, but it will be occasionally. But I think on that website you find information about me, who am I, what I did before I started to write a book, what a link to YouTube channel where you can go in and watch videos and learn more about the world around me, I think.
Now, your English is very good, by the way. Did you write the book first in Swedish and then make it into English?
Yes, of course. It was first written in Swedish. The first original was was released 2021 in late June, and it was 10 in size. So you almost have to have the magnifier to see. And I got the people who bought it, they were nice. They didn't complain, but I got a few remarks that maybe you could make the text little bigger.
Little bigger, yes.
So I did. I went from 10 to 11 and from 593 to 718 pages.
Yeah.
Yes.
It adds more pages when you make the font larger.
Yes, the font was larger because it's a little easier to read, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Krister, what are you working on now?
Well, I'm marketing. I'm marketing the
Marketing, yeah.
Swedish and the English ebook versions. I have started to write for a sequel to The Bus Driver. I have written 100 pages something. I don't know for sure. And I love to go on with that, but some other things always takes the time.
Yeah.
So yes, I would very much like to have time to continue to write on the sequel, but
Nice.
it will get ready when it is ready.
That's right.
Maybe next year, we'll see.
There's no hurry, Krister, because this is going to take me some time to get through this book.
Yeah, of course. But as I said in an email, you have to be aware of there are some grammatical errors and stuff like that, which is corrected in the new ebook version.
I see. Okay.
But of course, you get the message anyway. I'm sure about that. Yes.
Yeah, I did notice a couple, I don't know, grammatical errors, just a different way of putting the words than I'm used to, but I found it very charming. I like that because I really feel like it's being written by a Swedish author.
Yeah, okay. Yes, obviously, yes. But I think I discovered after that, no, not like that. Yes, it works, but no, I don't talk like that.
Right.
You don't pronounce it like that. You don't do it that way. So that's why, because I went through everything from the beginning again to get it right.
Yeah.
But as I said before, even though you find some errors here and there, I'm sure the message and the book itself gets through all this anyway, yes.
Krister, we're really out of time, but I just want to give you a minute and say, is there anything else you want to add or tell our viewers?
Well, I don't know. I think it's a very epic novel. It's worth reading, and it would be nice if people discover it and get curious about it and of course buy it, of course.
I will repeat that because it is an epic novel and it is worth reading. And I encourage our viewers to get it on ebook or any of the other versions that it's going to be out on. Order it in English or in Swedish, but order it nonetheless. And you know what's fun? I tell our viewers, Krister, I don't like to just order one. I like to order a few copies of books and get other people to be reading at the same time I'm reading. So I encourage our viewers to do that. I'm going to order the ebook and I'm going to have it sent to a couple of my fellow readers.
Very, very good. Thank you very much for that.
All right, Krister, I'm inspired now after talking to you, and thanks for sending me the book because now, once I started it, I cannot stop reading it. So I hope to have you back on again and again because you're a fascinating person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Briggs, and I'm happy to be on your show, of course.
I look forward to talking to you next time. And for our
Yeah.
for our viewers, we'll be right back with another author right after this. Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world about their books, their process. Also, we talk to publishers, editors, people who can help you get your book published. So many of our viewers are trying to do just that, get their first book out there. Our next guest today, I should say, has done it several times. She's an expert at it now. Margaret Izzard. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, last time you were here, we talked about your first book. In fact, here's the cover of it. It's called Stone of Love. And now